Today on Hebrew Grammar Help, I'll be talking about prefixes and suffixes that all verb tenses share. Welcome back to Hebrew Grammar Help. So today I'm talking about verb tenses, but we're not going to learn any particular conjugation. When learning conjugations, we generally learn them binyan by binyan, tense by tense, gizra by gizra. But there are some prefixes and suffixes that are shared across the binyanim. So this video is probably not going to be super useful to biblical Hebrew students. I do believe that a lot of the prefixes and suffixes are the same or similar, but I do not want to steer anybody in the wrong path. So I'm going to be using the modern Hebrew verbiage. All right, we're going to start with present tense. And this tense is used for something that happens regularly, ongoing, or that is happening right now. In English and in a lot of other languages, we can distinguish between I read in general and I am reading, but not in modern Hebrew. These would be both ani koreh or ani koret, as the case would be for me. So present tense verbs in Hebrew are really odd in that they do not conjugate according to first person, second person, and third person, the way the other tenses do, and the way most other languages, if they have conjugations in their verbs, usually there's a conjugation for first, second, and third person. So present tense verbs have 4 forms, and the singular masculine form is always the base form, and the other forms just add suffixes to that base form. The feminine singular either has an et ending with a taf or an a ending with a he. It depends on the binyan and the gizra. So now when it's an et ending, both of the last vowels are segals. And so that means that the stress is going to be on the second to last syllable, always. But if it's the a ending, then the stress is on the last syllable. Plural endings are im for masculine and ot for feminine. Sometimes this also involves a reduction of the second to last vowel, and the one which is the one that's right before the suffix, and it reduces to a schwa. So this again depends on the binyan. So because these endings do not really give a lot of information about the subject, they are not what linguists call prodrop. Prodrop means that you don't have to explicitly state the subject. Some languages are super prodrop, and Spanish and Basque come to mind. And others, like English, are hardly prodrop at all. Hebrew present tense verbs are like that. If I say lomed, it could be I learn, or he learns, or you learn. So, except in casual writing, such as texting and whatnot, the pronoun is always required in the present tense. Okay, and so I'm going to give you 2 example verbs. I'll start with lichtov, which is a pa'al verb that means to write. So the masculine singular is kotev, and that's the base form. Feminine singular is kotevet. Masculine plural is kotvim, and feminine plural is kotvot. So you can hear that in this binyan, the last syllable before the plural suffixes gets reduced to a schwa. So we say kotvim and kotvot, not kotevim and kotevot. But in a hif'il verb, such as lehargish, which means to feel, there is no reduction. So in this verb, we have margish, margisha, margishim, margishot. All right, moving on to past tense. This tense can be used for anything that has happened in the past, no matter how recent or how distant. All right, so here's a little chart of the endings. And you can see that up top here, I have singular on the right and plural on the left. And then down the side, I have 1 for first person, 2M for second person masculine, 2F for second person feminine, 3M for third person masculine, and 3F for third person feminine. Remember, if you're not sure what all of these mean, you can go and check out my video, Extra Info for the Grammatically Impaired, first, second, and third person. It's in the Extra Info playlist. So past tense forms also have a base form, which is the third person singular masculine. In English, we say this person as he. In Hebrew, they call him hu. So this form has no affixes at all, and it's the base for the other conjugations. And the beauty of past tense, the base form is the same vowels as the name of the binyan. So, binyan pa'al, your base is going to be the shoresh letters with an a vowel pattern. Binyan pl, same, your shoresh letters with an e vowel pattern. Hif'il, a little different because of the hey, but you get the picture. All of the other conjugations get a suffix that indicates the subject of the verb. And these suffixes are the same across all of the binyanim. But sometimes there's also a vowel change from the base form, and that changes from binyan to binyan. So if the subject is ani, the verb gets a t ending. And if the subject is you masculine, so ata, you're going to have a ta ending. Notice here that there is not a hey or anything after the taf to indicate that the taf has a vowel. This bugged me so much when I was in college, but 30 years later, I'm finally okay with it. If the subject is at, you feminine singular, then the suffix is just a taf, and technically it has a schwa under it. But because Hebrew is written usually without vowels, the two past tense you forms look exactly the same. So normally this is not a problem because we usually know who we're talking to. Okay, and as I mentioned before, the who form is the base, so it has no suffix. The he form, third person singular feminine, gets a he and an a sound. And in some binyanim, the vowel before the suffix is reduced to a schwa. On the plural side, first person, anachnu, gets the nu suffix. Atem has a tem suffix, and aten has a ten suffix. And both hem and hen just get a vav, sounding like oo. And third person, plural, also gets a reduced vowel in some binyanim. So you can see that these suffixes are similar to the pronouns themselves. Ani ends with an e sound, and the suffix has an e sound. Ata has a ta, and so does the suffix. At ends with a t, and so does the suffix. Anachnu has a nu. Atem has ten. Aten has ten. And so it's really just the third person suffixes that don't really resemble their pronouns. And so because of this, past tense is mostly prodrop. If I say katavta, that can be no one except for you singular masculine. So there is no need for ata. Now, my ulpan and all of my teachers and my son's teachers, they all claim that past tense is not prodrop for third person. I will tell you, I see this rule broken constantly. And they might say, oh, it's just because it's informal, it was in a text or whatever. But no, I see it in children's books, I see it in adult writing, I see it in all kinds of places. So, my advice is that when you are talking or writing and your subject is third person, put that pronoun. Um, it doesn't hurt and it'll make you apparently sound acceptable to everybody. But if you see something written that doesn't have the pronoun, then don't get bent out of shape. It's you'll still understand what's going on. So again, I'll go through the same two verbs, lichtov and lehargish. Lichtov again is pa'al, and so that means its base has an a vowel pattern. So we have katavti, katavta, kataft, katav, katva. Notice the reduced vowel there. Katavnu, katavtem, katavten, and katvu with another reduced vowel. And lehargish again is hif'il, so its base is hirgish. But hif'il does have a vowel change in its first and second person. So it's going to be hirgashti, hirgashta, hirgasht, hirgish, hirgisha, no vowel reduction, hirgashnu, hirgashtem, hirgashten, hirgishu. Again, no vowel reduction. All right, moving on to the future tense. This is used for anything that is happening in the future and also for all negative commands, such as don't do such and such. And it is also used in daily language for the positive commands as well, although there is a separate set of positive commands. So the future tense is really obvious because it has prefixes. And in addition to the prefixes, some of the forms also have suffixes. They're both important. And there is no base form. They all have a prefix. So check them out. So I didn't include vowels because they really change from binyan to binyan. But the ani form has an aleph prefix, just like the beginning of ani. And the ataf form has a taf prefix, reminiscent of the taf in ataf. The at form has the taf prefix and a yod suffix. And that yod suffix makes the e sound. Hu gets a yod prefix. Now, here's the really weird one. The he form is always exactly the same as the ata form. I don't know why. A lot of students try to make it like the at form, but it is wrong to put the yod suffix there. Anachnu gets a nun prefix. Atem and atem get a taf prefix and a vav suffix. And hem and hen get the yod prefix and the vav suffix. And those vav suffixes sound like u. And all of the suffixes make the previous vowel reduced to a schwa in some binyanim. And just like with past tense, future tense is pro-drop except for the third person forms. It kind of makes sense with the he form because without saying he, the verb makes it sound like you mean ata. So it seems kind of confusing, like you are never going to remember it all. I know, I was there. But try putting them into categories. Second person always has a taf prefix. Third person has a yod prefix, except for he, which is just weird. Plural always gets the vav suffix, except for anachnu, which kind of makes sense. The second and third person plural need the vav suffix to distinguish them from the singular. But anachnu doesn't need it because it has a nun prefix and ani has the aleph prefix. This is a lot to think about when you're in the middle of a conversation. But if you keep it up and you work on your Hebrew every day, it will eventually become more automatic. So let me run through the model verbs that I've been using, lichtov and lehargish. So we have ani echtov, ata tichtov, at tichtevi, hu yichtov, hi tichtov, אנחנו נכתוב. אתם ואתן תכתבו. הם והן יכתבו. You hear that in this binyan, we have a vowel reduction whenever there is a suffix. Then with lehargish, we have ani argish, ata targish, at targishi, hu yargish, hi targish, אנחנו נרגיש, אתם ואתן תרגישו, הם והן ירגישו. No vowel reduction on this one. Now, Hebrew teachers usually refer to the imperative or command as a tense, but in linguistics and when we're learning other languages, it's always considered a mood, whatever that means. All of the verbs in Hebrew have 3 imperative forms. In fact, they have a 4th. They do have a special form for the plural feminine. But I very rarely, I really only see that or I hear it in songs. I've never heard anyone actually use it. And these imperative forms, I see them in instructions like on a worksheet or my son's Hebrew books. They have the instructions written in Hebrew, and so they will use all of these imperative forms. But in day-to-day speech, it's really way more common to use the future tense of the correct person that you're talking to. And this is so prevalent that I actually don't even really know the imperative forms for most verbs. If I hear it, I'll recognize it, but I really couldn't make it myself. But there are 3 or possibly 4 verbs that are so irregular that, and they're also really common that it would actually sound weird if you used the future tense when giving a command. So these verbs are lalechet, which means to go, latet, which means to give, and lashevet, which means to sit. So I'm just going to use these 3 verbs to demonstrate the imperative mood, and you'll be able to see that there is a pattern. Notice, of course, that there are only 3 forms for the 3 different people here. Ata, at, and atem and aten get the same form. So with lalechet, which means to go or to walk, we have lech, lechi for the feminine, and lechu for the plural. For latet, to give, we have ten, tni, and tenu. And for lashevet, we have shev, shvi, and shvu. And then for lakachat, which means to take, we have kach, kchi, and kchu. So all of these verbs are missing their first shoresh letter. And except for lakachat, it's because they're all weak letters. There's kind of like a base form with the ata form, and then a reduced vowel plus a suffix that sounds like e for the at form or u for the atem and the aten forms. So you can kind of see a little bit of a similarity between the imperative forms and the future tense. Okay, so that's it for today. Now, when you see a verb that you don't know, you can at least identify what tense it is and what person the subject is. Knowing these patterns will help you when you actually go through learning each conjugation of each binyan and each gizra. If you have any questions or feedback, please leave it in the comments and I will do my best to respond. Also, if you have some aspect of Hebrew grammar that has you flummoxed, let me know and I will explain it in a future video. Hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe and press the notification bell if you want to see more. See you next time.